The United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, otherwise known as UNIFIL, was tasked with facilitating the safe withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon. Formed in response to Israel's invasion, this operation has been in effect for the last 30 years, a period which has been constantly volatile in nature. To fully understand this complex situation, it's necessary to start at the beginning. Following terrorist attacks originating from an armed Palestinian contingent inside Lebanon, Israel invaded the entire southern area of the country. While succeeding in driving the Palestinian Liberation Organization from Lebanon, increased tensions between Israel and the Lebanese government over the occupation forced the United Nations to institute Resolutions 425 and 426. Established 5 days after the invasion, these resolutions called on the immediate withdrawal of Israeli forces from Lebanon and saw the creation of UNIFIL. The situation further deteriorated when, in 1982, Israel occupied Lebanon again following clashes along the border. This successive invasion ultimately led to the creation of the Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed group dedicated to the removal of Israel as a prelude to their final obliteration. The next 20 years saw the two factions locked in a battle of retaliation, with Hezbollah utilizing guerrilla tactics and Israel responding with airstrikes, causing many military and civilian deaths on both sides. While Israel retreated to the security zone in 1985, it wasn't until 1999 that they undertook any significant withdrawal. Even with several violations of the UN instated withdrawal line, a period of relative calm lasted in the region for several years. The Lebanese army managed to retain some semblance of control, and UNIFIL remained on the border to monitor activities and provide humanitarian aid. With the region's stability remaining tenuous and tensions never diminishing, a new crisis erupted in 2006 when heavy attacks occurred across the border from both factions. The conflict caused massive casualties, substantial damage to infrastructure, and displaced millions. While this recent conflict was soon dissipated, another clash broke out along the border only last year. This is the current situation. Tensions are still extremely high, stability is constantly in danger, and many predict further attacks from both sides. Amidst this chaos was UNIFIL. During the initial invasion, the Security Council tasked it with three main objectives: confirm the Israeli withdrawal from the region, reinstate international peace and security, and help the Lebanese government to restore its effective authority in the area. This mandate dramatically changed over the course of the conflict. Israel's second invasion of Lebanon in 1982 saw UNIFIL's positions overrun, limiting their military abilities, constricting them to mostly humanitarian tasks and medical assistance. The new hostilities in 2006 dramatically changed the resources and mandate UNIFIL received. The Security Council unanimously passed Resolution 1701, which increased the troop count from 2,000 to 15,000, and significantly expanded its mandate. UNIFIL was now tasked to monitor the cessation of hostilities, support the Lebanese armed forces as they deployed throughout the south while Israel withdraws, coordinate these activities with the governments of Lebanon and Israel, extend its assistance to help ensure humanitarian access to civilian populations and the voluntary and safe return of displaced persons, assist the Lebanese army in taking steps towards the establishment of an arms-free zone, and assist the government of Lebanon in securing its borders to prevent the entry in Lebanon without its consent. The rules of engagement were also altered. Troops were now allowed to engage an enemy in self-defense and also to protect civilians. Currently, the approved budget is $545 million. These changes to UNIFIL radically enhanced its capabilities. But was the mission successful? Even though the UNIFIL presence has been critical in reducing the casualties, many of its objectives have yet to be met after nearly 3 decades of operation. Time and time again, conflicts have erupted along the border, with UNIFIL being unable to effectively control hostilities. UNIFIL has been successful in facilitating the removal of Israel from Lebanon. However, as history shows, there is every possibility for additional invasions while Hezbollah still operates inside a zone of invulnerability. UNIFIL's presence has prevented hostilities along the border to an extent, but it has ultimately failed in restoring peace and security to the region. The success or failure of UNIFIL is dependent on the cessation of hostilities by both sides. However, there are several areas where there could be improvement. The lack of a more robust mandate like Resolution 1701 in the early stages of the war severely restricted UNIFIL's capabilities to be anything more than bystanders. Until 2006, UNIFIL had virtually no enforcing capabilities whatsoever, and was limited to aid work. While this enhancement of UNIFIL is a definite step towards moving from an observer to an enforcer, it has been seen by many as still inadequate and coupled with problematic rules of engagement. While UNIFIL's troops were, in theory, allowed to engage hostiles if they are a threat to themselves or their mandate, in reality this never happened. Often civilians impeded UNIFIL's progress to carry out their mission, authorizing them to be engaged with. It demonstrates a large disparity between the reality on the ground and their mandate. Resolution 1701 actively called for the disarmament of Hezbollah, an objective which in operational terms was near impossible. Perhaps rather than aggressively pursuing its goals, the mandate should allow for a more traditional peacekeeping role, that of observation, rebuilding, and aid. Despite its military impotence, seeking cooperation with both factions and the civilians may prove to be more beneficial to the peace and stability of the region.